Welcome, Exile. Stay a while and listen as I, Detective Noir, would like to talk to you guys about Path of Exile and its sequel in the works, Path of Exile 2, both being an action role-playing game. But just calling it that feels empty. I'll get to that. First, like always, if you do enjoy my content and want to see more, please hit like and subscribe. Now on to the video. So, to explain my love for Path of Exile, allow me to explain the history behind another game, Diablo II. Originally released in 2000, then re-released in 2021, Diablo II was made, published, and developed by Blizzard Entertainment, and sent out to the public only 4 years after the original Diablo. Originally, Diablo II only had 4 acts for the player to play through, but eventually, in 2001, they would release the Lords of Destruction Edition, and that would add the 5th act. The game has entranced me ever since I was a child. First, seeing the sealed, pristine, unused box of the Necromancer on the cover with their bony fingers curled around the title surrounded by darkness and fire. Diablo. It struck awe in my child eyes, and I wanted it. So paying only $5 at the local Home Depot and bringing it home, I got a new game. Then I made a new Blizzard account and started to play. I then saw the opening cinematic. Malleus explains to a hooded figure what he found at a monastery swallowed in hellfire. Then a traveler, a hooded figure following him. His dream becoming reality, Inferno swallowing the tavern as the hooded figure lets his inner demons, literally, destroy the tavern and all who were within it, except Malleus. Then the game started, and I could choose my class. In the original, you have the choice of 5 different character classes, each with their own unique skill tree, passive abilities, and armor/weaponry to choose from. The Necromancer, Amazon, Barbarian, the Sorceress, and finally, the Paladin, my personal favorite. 2 additional characters were later added to the game with the Lord of Destruction expansion, the Druid and Assassin, and finally, in 2025 of last year, they recently added the Warlock, though I have a few personal opinions about that. Other than that, Diablo originally introduced the idea of hardcore, or what it later evolved into, permadeath, a single run in the game where you must build a practically perfect character and go all in, or you die and have to restart from the beginning all over again. I'm more of a fan of softcore, or just a normal way of playing the game. Now with some of the history out of the way, usually, with most ARPGs, they are top-down, point-and-click game where you have a limited space of inventory, a stash back in town, and a bunch of vendor NPCs that'll also give you accessories for your character. But the biggest thing for any RPG is their skill tree. Now for Diablo II, each class had their own unique skill trees that could bring them from a simple adventurer to the savior of Tristram. But for Path of Exile, woo buddy. Thousands upon thousands of builds could be made off of the skill tree alone, and they have. Now before you are overwhelmed with the skill tree and so on, big disclaimer. When you are playing the game, I highly recommend following a build guide. But if you don't want to, then good luck. My first character for the Softcore League was an Elemental Hit Slayer. And speaking of, let's do a little bit more talking about Path of Exile itself now, the subject of the video. Path of Exile is the greatest ARPG I have ever played, and it clears all the others. Diablo 4, Grim Dawn, any other ARPG just doesn't hit right, unlike PoE. But besides me giving all of this glaze to an old game, let me explain to you why PoE is a great game. Creativity is the first thing I will always give props to in any game ever. First, the story of Path of Exile is probably one you've heard before. After choosing your hero out of 7 characters, you're stranded on a beach after being exiled from an island called Oriath, with their culture following the god called Innocent, when in reality the High Templars have been sacrificing people to fuel something known as the Beast of Corruption and Kitava, so that they can consume the god's power and ascend just like a divine soul. But one god sees the truth of it all. If the beast consumes it all, then all gods, even newly ascended ones, will fall and die to its power. So to stop it from growing, the god Sin devised a plan of stopping Kitava and putting the gods to sleep so that their power could never be called upon again. Honestly, a 9 out of 10 in terms of story for me. It's original, and the path of the game's campaign is a bit long, but shows the effects of the choices of your character around you and how it shapes the landscape. Second, of course, is its gameplay, and like I explained before, it's a top-down ARPG that is fully up to you on what you want to play. A slamming berserker warrior? Build it. A spin-to-win gladiator making people bleed and explode? Do it. So many things you can build. But again, like I said prior, I highly recommend following a build guide first to get yourself acquainted with the game's mechanics and its endlessly piling crafting features. Path of Exile has so many things you can do, go through, and play through just for fun. Endless creativity and replayability. Now, I do have a little gripe, my own personal downside. It's not totally beginner friendly. Again, like I said before, the skill tree itself is huge and can be overwhelming. All the new skills and support gem combinations, also the different ways of crafting. A long-time player would tell me, oh, it's not that difficult, the crafting does this and so on, but that is coming from an experienced player. I'm talking about someone who has no experience playing Path of Exile. So let us hop over to the sequel, which, in my opinion, is much more beginner friendly than the previous Path of Exile 2. The more acclaimed sequel of both games, and one with an update I'm so excited to play. Though I'm a little upset there's no new class or weapon class to play, but back to PoE 2, the new update is called Return of the Ancients, which completely reworks the endgame, adding a new league mechanic and new crafting, new unique items, currency, and more. Much like the first PoE, Path of Exile 2 gives the player a wide range of classes to play, and not so many weapons to play. Only because the game is in its early access stages. Like I said before, the game is in stage 0.50 and still has a long way before it becomes 1.0 and releases. One thing I hope for PoE 2 to become is a much more beginner-friendly version of Path of Exile 1, and allows a lot more build crafting, as it's not as broad as the first game, but still has an incredible depth to it. I highly recommend getting it if you can. It's an incredible first dive into action RPGs and has incredible depths of crafting and designs that any artist or gamer can take a moment and just take it all in and appreciate each detail within the code of the game. So, for you guys, I'm currently in the works of a League starter build for the new League of Path of Exile 2, and a custom loot filter for new beginners. I'm even diving into the new beginner-friendly build guide that GGG has made for Path of Exile 2, and I hope we get something like it for Path of Exile 1. It would help greatly. So after this video, my next should be a build guide on my own version of the Smith of Kitava Ascendancy. And now, we reach the end of the video. Thank you once again for stopping by my office and listening to me. Make sure you hit the subscribe button before you leave, and that thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
keep that. By decree of the Count of Ogum, your whispering and conspiring has not gone unnoticed. I see your disloyalty. I hear your mockery. However, your plots against me all lay dead in their